The first step in knapping a slab with percussion is to eliminate the square edges. And I do that with something called zigzagging or stitching. After zigzagging, you abrade the edges to get rid of the delicate areas. And then start driving flakes toward the center. If you want to thin it down, they've got to go past halfway. Taking advantage of low spots along the edge to drive flakes. After you've cleared the machined surface of the slab, then you can begin to shape the outside to create a preform for whatever point style you're working on. The important thing is to establish some symmetry. You don't have to do that perfectly, but it does help to keep the symmetry maintained throughout the process. If you're not able to clear off defects because it's too wide, then the next step is to reduce the width so you can drive flakes at least partially halfway across. It has to be at least halfway across as far as the length of the flakes, and that helps to reduce the length needed so that you don't need as much power to drive these flakes. Once you're satisfied with the center or the middle areas, it's time to thin down the edges in preparation for sharpening. This also is a step toward making it even more thin, because you can drive flakes further than just near the edge during this stage. The important thing to keep in mind is to find that sweet spot after you get used to the material, and that'll help you to keep from breaking it at this stage. That sweet spot I'm talking about is knowing the strength of the material and knowing how much to grind the edge and how much force to use. Once you're used to it, and once you've practiced, you'll find that combination that works, and I call that the sweet spot. We can start sharpening. You can sharpen before or after the notching. I prefer to do most of the sharpening before the notching. And the tips especially are an area where I need to focus a lot of my attention because it's the hardest part for me. But yeah, I'll go around the entire edge and sharpen it to about 90%, because there's always a spot that you may need to take advantage of to drive a flake to make it even thinner, if that's what you're after. It's very difficult to do any thinning after the edge is sharpened. The only way to get around that is remove some edge and regrind it until it's dull, and then drive the thinning flakes, but you're going to lose a lot of width if you do that. One of the tricks to sharpening is to produce bulbs of pressure right next to the edge. That gives you kind of a scooped out or ground, what they call hollow ground, a hollow ground type of effect near the edge. So you use those bulbs of pressure as scoop outs that'll create that hollow ground effect. It makes the edge a lot thinner than if you were just to pick at it and only press downward. Alright, so I'm pretty satisfied with the edges. They're not fully sharpened, but it's good enough for now. I'm going to start notching. And the way I notch, I just crunch it in with a spatula tool. I call it crunching it in because there is a bit of a crunching sound. Ideally, you want just a snapping sound, just like you were working on the edge of the piece when sharpening. When sharpening and when notching, you should hear nice pop outs and not too much crunching. But you can crunch the notches in. It's no big deal. And especially at the bottom of the notch, where you'll be wrapping it. Once I'm satisfied with the depth of the notch, I'll go over to the other side and start notching the other side. Sometimes I'll start notching the other side before I finish, just in case I can't reach the same depth with the second notch. So it's safer to progress with the notching in kind of an equal amount on both sides. That way, if you stall one side, you don't have to force yourself to go further. You just match the other side up to the stalled side. Now I start the notching with a thick notching tool, and when I want to go deeper, I've got a secondary notching tool that's longer and a bit thinner, but it requires some finesse to pop these flakes out with a weaker tool when it starts getting thicker. Once you're satisfied with the depth and width of the notches, it's time to trim everything up to the final shape on the outsides. So a lot of times I use the same notching tool to do the final trimming and sharpening as well. Except these will be smaller flakes, just to be on the safe side. You don't want to put too much pressure on the sides, especially on the barbs. So I'm just removing small flakes when I'm trimming. Same goes for the base. Same goes for the final sharpening all the way around. A lot of times I'll use the same tool. Alright, so this is modeling clay. I'm going to use it instead of pine pitch glue or asphaltum glue to simulate the gluing process, because I'm going to sell this separately, so I need to be able to clean it up easily afterwards, after this demonstration video. So you want the glue to be a bridge between the stone and the wood. And when you're touching the hot melt glue, you use wet fingers. Make a good transition between the stone and the wood is all you need. Just so it's nice and smooth. Smooth transition. Okay. And then you dip your sinew in water. It doesn't take too long, just a few minutes. I've already added water to this piece a little bit earlier, so it was already damp. And then you flatten it out. Alright, so this is the way I wrap. Just across the top, and then I start downward. Go at least once around completely before I go back up, and then down again at least once around. Let's see, at least once around before I go back up, and then come back down, and then finish with a wrap down on the stem or on the foreshaft. But that's the way it should look. And there's time before it dries to make the adjustment. Just keep it nice and warm so the glue won't harden up. And you spin it like this, holding the foreshaft steady. And that tip should not move. Okay? That looks pretty good. So this is elk sinew, backstrap sinew. Elk, backstrap sinew. And this is about right as far as the amount of wrapping that I've seen on artifacts. Just one piece of sinew. And this one, I'm going to measure to see how long this piece is. So this piece of sinew to wrap this one. Let's see. About 17.5 inches or 44 centimeters. 17.5 inches or around 44 centimeters. Yeah. Okay. There you go.